As with extract 1, we now need to read extract 2 very carefully, so we're ready to answer the next questions. Turn to extract 2 now in your booklets. Text 2. Extract from BBC Natural History Unit Boss, Why We Stepped In to Save the Penguins by Anita Singh in 2018. In this extract, published in the Telegraph newspaper, Anita Singh reports on how a camera crew filming as part of a BBC nature documentary held penguins who were trapped during a storm. The BBC's Natural History Unit has defended a camera crew that broke the golden rule of wildlife filmmaking by stepping in to save some penguins from freezing to death with their chicks. A crew based in the Antarctic for Dynasties, the new BBC One series, found the birds trapped in a gully as storm raged around them. After being moved to tears by the plight of one chick that died as it tried to get out of the ravine, the team dug a ramp in the snow that allowed the surviving penguins to walk to safety. Sir David Attenborough, who narrates the series, previously said, "If you're a film cameraman, you are trained, as it were, to be the observer, a non-participant. That's very important." However, Mike Gunton, head of the Natural History Unit, said that there are always exceptions to the rule. "In the 30 years I've been doing this, it is one of the very few occasions when we've ever done anything like this, because it's a very unusual situation," he told Radio 4's Today programme. "Normally, you don't interfere. You can't interfere. You wouldn't interfere because of all sorts of consequences. It would, usually, be very dangerous to do, both for you and the animal. You would probably be changing the dynamics of the natural system, or you might be depriving something of food. But in this particular situation, none of those things applied. No hands were laid on these animals. Intervention is quite a strong word. Really, all they did was make some cuts in the ice so that if the birds wanted to, they could get a grip and escape the gully with their chicks still on their feet." Mr. Gunton said he discussed the episode with Sir David, who said he would have done the same thing had he been there. Both he and the Antarctic authorities have supported what we did and thought it was the right thing to do. In the BBC's 2013 series, Africa, an elephant calf starved to death in a drought. "That's a perfect example of when you would not intervene," Mr. Gunton said. "Even if you wanted to, what would you do? This animal was starving to death. There was no food anywhere. You're just prolonging the inevitable." The decision had the support of other experts. Alistair Fothergill, former head of the Natural History Unit and now making Our Planet for Netflix, said, "All of us who make wildlife films have witnessed a predator and prey scenario where we could have intervened. There was a cheetah mother with some tiny cubs, and we saw hyenas coming to kill the cubs. We'd been working with these animals for months and couldn't help being emotionally attached. We could easily have driven towards the hyenas and scared them off. But the rule is, don't interfere. One animal is another animal's meal. The situation with the emperor penguins is pretty unique and almost the exception that proves the rule." So question 4, again, is quite a nice simple, identify the information and write it down. The only thing you can really do wrong here is not use the right lines. So the question, from lines 4 to 8, identify one action taken by the camera crew. I'm going to identify my lines, slightly more tricky this time because of where the 5 falls, but I'm going to assume it is these lines here. So as I did with the first text, I'm going to box in my lines just to make sure I'm looking at the right point. And I'm going to look for the action taken by the camera crew. A crew based in the Antarctic for Dynasties, the new BBC One series, found the birds trapped in a gully as the storm raged around them. Okay, well, there's no action there. It says they were based there, but it doesn't tell me anything they were doing. So the next lines, after being moved to tears by the plight of one chick that died as it tried to get out of the ravine, nothing there, but here we go. The team dug a ramp in the snow that allowed the surviving penguins to walk to safety. So really there's one correct answer here. Write that on your answer sheets now. Question 5 asks us to have a look at lines 20 to 22. So we're going to make sure that we've got those lines, which is this paragraph here. I'm going to box it in to make sure I'm using those correct lines. And it asks to look for one thing Mike Gunton says about the camera crew's actions. So if we're having a look, no hands were laid on these animals. Intervention is quite a strong word. Really, all they did was make some cuts in the ice so that if the birds wanted to, they could get a grip and escape the gully with the chicks on their feet. So, what did he say? He said, all they did was make some cuts in the ice. Okay, he also said no hands were laid on these animals. And that's pretty much the two choices that you have. So you could either write that the camera crew did not lay hands on the animals, so no hands were laid on these animals, or that all they did was make some cuts in the ice. Choose one of those two and write it onto your answer sheet now.